Now we're going to hear from Wayne Jenkins, which is about the Rotary Overseas Recycle Playgrounds, or more commonly known as RORP. This has been around for a little while, but it is really starting to gain momentum. Watch out, Wayne will really want to get hold of clubs and really want to promote this around the place, because there are lots of playgrounds in and around our communities that are going to landfill. And so instead of them going to landfill, Wayne has a solution for that. So Wayne, over to you.
Muted. Now I'm unmuted. Okay. Thanks for that, Mark. I suspect a lot of people have already seen this presentation. It is a very condensed version of what you've already seen, and I promise I'll be as short as I can, dynamic as I can, but remaining informative. As Mark said, RORP has been around for a while. It started at Kensington Club, and we are now taking it down through the district, the first district in the state, and very soon there'll be actually a meeting of the DGs to hopefully make this a Victorian-wide project. Tonight, or today, we're only going to be scratching the surface, obviously, because it's going to take many hours to give you a full brief. But if you do wish a full brief, give Carol or Buzz or contact me later. What's our business model? It's very simple. Couldn't be easier. What we do, we descend on a playground like this one here. This is up at Bendigo. We very nicely rip it out of the ground. We call that action harvesting. We process it through some Rotary procedures, and it ends up in some third world country where the local Rotary Club reinstalls it, ceremonial occasion, a presentation to a new owner, and a set of kids for the next generation get to enjoy it. So it's very, very simple. I just want to put on my arrogant hat for a while. If I could give you a sort of a catchphrase or a take-home phrase or group of phrases for today's presentation, arrogantly, these would be the four, because we are the best ambassadors for RORP, and people will come to us and say, tell us about this RORP. And if you've got these four things in your brain, it's going to make it a lot easier, and you're going to be fantastic ambassadors for RORP. Very simply, we've done the first one already. We harvest playgrounds from our local community. We take them overseas and reinstall them. Most Rotarians aren't aware that it's a cost-neutral action, because we charge for our service. And that's actually not a new charge, it's an offset charge that would normally be gobbled up by landfill costs and tip fees and transport and demolition fees, where RORP does all that and we only charge $750. As Mark said, it's been around for 4 and a bit years now. So we're not a concept, we're a living, breathing project, and we've got a heartbeat. We've done it 41 and a bit times now, so we've got a fair bit of experience. So if I can be as arrogant as I could and just say, if you could take home those four catchphrases or take home points, that'd be fantastic. I'll try to take my arrogant hat off now. We don't do that alone. When we're actually out in the field, and bear in mind there's a lot of admin that goes before this, but when we're in the field, we don't do this alone. We have a professional contractor, or we call them installers. This is one of them, probably the happiest one around. And the end result is we end up with their staff, their young folk mainly, doing the heavy lifting, the hard work. And here's a couple of the young guys jackhammering off a concrete blob off the bottom of what was an upright. At that point, it becomes a Rotary problem, because then, sorry, I'll just go back there. What you don't see on the outside of this picture here is two Rotarians waiting for this green pole. And here's the green pole. We've taken it off the work site, laid it in our trailer, and it goes through one of our two engineering workshops. It is reviewed, it is straightened, the threads are recut, all sorts of small things happen to it before we're ready to ship it overseas. This trailer here sits over here at Mount Martha. It's a very large tandem trailer. It's bigger than a normal tandem, and it's purposely redesigned internally to make the transportation of playgrounds very easy. Free of charge to any RORP activity anywhere in 9820, and by negotiations anywhere in the state if there's a need for such a trailer. What happens once we have about 10 playgrounds, there's 3 actually here, and there's 5 or 6 spaces behind the workshop. Once they become full, we can transport them either directly overseas or through DIK to one of our receiving countries. The destinations that we're presently using, Sri Lanka is the main one. A past district governor by the name of Seneca told me he could take over 1,000. Very optimistic and unrealistic, unfortunately, because there's lots of other countries that are putting their hand up now. Nepal has just come online. There'll be a container going up there. Unfortunately, it's got to go through Calcutta and then up a pretty windy road up to Nepal. Philippines, and the red ones are existing. So we have memorandums of understanding with Tanzania, Timor, and PNG. Just so you can understand why it is advantageous for owners to use RORP rather than use the contractor. The very first thing that we'll say, it's cheaper. It's more economical for a council or an education group to use RORP. We charge $750 plus GST. That'll go up as cost of living goes up. Whereas if you look at the rolled in cost of a contractor, it is somewhere in that vicinity. So it's about $1,500, $2,000 dearer to use a contractor. And of course, the reason being is that we are removing the so-called playground from the work site. They don't have to cut it up, they don't have to transport it, they don't have to pay tip fees, they don't have to recycle fees. The other positive, of course, is the owner has all the positives of their environmental policy. So their carbon neutrality, their recycling, their minimisation of landfill can all be complied with if RORP uses the playground. If not, it's got to go through the landfill and a small part of recycling. So that's why it's advantageous, and councils are very aware of that, and it is a growing trend in councils in Victoria to be what we call RORP partners. Very quickly, if anyone wants to talk to me, that's my contact numbers. RORP.9820@gmail.com. It's an easy one to remember. Mark promises me there's going to be a more official one at some stage, but that will get me, or talk to Carol and she will pass it on. The end of the presentation is just a bit of a mix of slides here. This top one up here is actually the very first pre-RORP harvest in Victoria. It happened down at Leopold, just outside Geelong. There's 3 Rotary clubs involved there, with Peter, the founder of the of RORP. His MG Sports Car Club is also involved, and that particular playground is now re-erected at the Sputnik Girls' Home in Sri Lanka and being played on as we speak. A few things down here. That's the very first playground that was harvested in 98-20. That was at Mount Eliza. Our organisation at Rort Peninsula went across to Brunswick to help out the crews up there, and that's in Brunswick. And that's the crew actually that did the work. That's all I've got, Mark. Thank you.
Fantastic, thanks for that. And as you can see, everyone, I mean, what better way of recycling? You know, one of Rotary's areas of focus now is environment, and so doesn't recycling playgrounds just fit really nicely within that area of focus as well? And I mean, we've all got kids and grandkids that have grown up on playgrounds. There are plenty of places around the world of where kids don't have playgrounds, and so what better way of recycling and then letting them have a lot of fun and enjoyment from playing on some recycled playgrounds as well.